This is a Cleveland show. Give me blow. Dick so freaky. GMO. My head up box. BMO. Fuck a settler with my toe. Marshall stop touching bow. Kid so tasty. Oreo. Rory short. Gambino. Always high. Piccolo. They only gave 30 seconds for this rap. When I see the junior chicken, I make sure to fap. I don't know how to text. I have rock hard pecs. My favorite game is sex. Vasili is up next.
Thank you, Parker, for having me today. I'd like to thank my mom and dad for making it. I love being here. I love Family Guy show. I love everything. I like the show. It's a very nice show. I like this show. It's a good show. I like Family Guy. Family Guy's funny. I like that one episode where Brian Griffin goes to the thing and he gets his runner's high just so he can impress the girl, because that's what guys do. And I like when Peter Griffin goes to the funny place, because Peter Griffin's cool. And I like this beat. This beat kind of slapped though. I like this beat. I like this beat. Wait, I like this. This beat goes hard. On Lord, please give this beat. Thank you for giving this beat. I like this beat. This beat go hard. On society. With good friends and old friends and even. This is the Cleveland show. Frank, 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 Frankie, Frankie, Frank, 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 Frank,
Vasili, you've gone too far. Eat you up like a protein bar. Give me 10 seconds to rap. Gonna do nothing but fap. Jacob is a little stupid, having periods like he's a squid. Roy better brush his teeth. Cavities stick to you like a leech. Parker, stop eating ramen. Find out where your father's been. That's the end of my verse. Jacob, take the mic before it gets worse.
Okay, Marshall, that was really uncool. Fuck you. I really did not like how you called me a squid. I am pretty much a human being. I do not think I am a squid. Anyways, this beat is really cool. I like it. Yeah. Okay. I like Kleenexes. They clean my nose. When I am having sex, I like to feel it in my toes. I'm feeling cool. I like the machines. They keep me alive, or else I would probably be dead. Yeah. I like to use measuring cups to look how much semen I can produce in a day. I think it's around 15 trillion liters of cum I produce every day. Half of the cum is stored in my mattress. Don't sleep on my mattress, or else you're probably gonna get pregnant from all the cum that is on the mattress. I have really bad apples. I'm trying to eat an apple, but I can probably squish these. They are very not good. Yeah, here goes. This is a rotten ass apple. Like, I could put my finger through this apple. This is a really bad idea. Here we go. Okay, so I just took a bite of this apple. It's really gross. Really, really bad. I think there are maggots in this apple. Not gonna lie. It tastes super bad. Like, really fucking horrible. But I'm gonna eat it anyway. Okay. You know, it's not so bad. Once you get through, like, the really soft shell, the insides aren't really that bad. It's still white. That's pretty good. So I don't think I'm gonna die soon, but that's really not that greatest. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably give, like, this apple a 3. But, you know what, actually, I'd give it a 5, yeah. No, a 6. I'll give it a passing grade. But I wouldn't really recommend eating apples like this, you know? Not really the greatest. Okay. Third bite in. This apple is getting really bad. I changed the score. It gave me a 2. Yeah. I'm gonna give this apple a 2. It's just like, it doesn't have like that crisp outside, you know? It's not crunchy. But it's a pretty decent apple. Not really, it's really bad. I don't know why I'm lying. It's really soft. You can probably finger the apple, put my penis inside. Probably know where the seeds are. But an apple's an apple, you know? But it's not the greatest. Alright. Back on the track. After the apple review. I like ramen. Hashtag fuck Marshall. He a little bitch. Go to the store. He a little snitch. Put him in jail. Cause he a bitch. You know what? Mangoes are pretty good too. I like mangoes, but seriously, this apple's really not good. You should never get an apple like this. apple really sucks. I don't recommend this apple at all. Seriously. Like, this apple is really ash. I wouldn't even give this apple to my greatest enemies.